Tonight, we're going to recount three truly terrifying stories. These aren't ghost stories. They're real-life accounts where something as simple as grabbing dinner or, just earning a wage turned into a chilling fight for survival. We'll be looking at three different situations. A tourist who was targeted by a relentless follower, a young waitress who faced a brutal attack on her walk home, and a diner server who was stalked from the moment she took an order.
And it's important to remember just how vulnerable we can be in our daily lives. Sometimes the most serious threat is the person sitting right there next to you.
Let's start with the first story. It's about a 25-year-old woman, and she's on a solo trip to Rio de Janeiro. She's staying in this nice, modern Airbnb, but it's a little outside the main city. She was there for a specific DJ event. So one evening, she decides to get dinner alone at this small, kind of dark but affordable little spot. She gets seated, and pretty soon she notices this man. He's around 50, sitting near her. He's also alone. He starts a conversation in a mix of Portuguese and English, and right away he starts correcting her Portuguese.
Which is an immediate, if subtle, power play.
Yes.
It's not about helping.
No, it wasn't. And then he makes this really explicit comment. He says, how sexy I am when I talk in Portuguese. She's immediately uncomfortable, just wants to get out of there. So she quickly eats, asks for the check.
And this is the first major red flag.
Exactly. The moment she asks for her check, he immediately does the same. He hadn't even finished his food.
His priority just shifted. It wasn't about dinner anymore.
So she leaves, trying to act casual. It's getting dark, and she starts walking back to her Airbnb. At one point, she looks across the street, and she spots him following her. She finally gets back to her place, heart pounding, locks the door, and then she peeks out the window. And she sees him.
Where was he?
He was way down the block, standing by the intersection, just staring directly at her house. There was no doubt at all. He'd followed her home. So later that night, she goes out for a little bit, comes back, maybe a bit intoxicated, a bit distracted. And as she sits down inside, she hears something. It's the blinds on the kitchen window blowing in the breeze. And her blood just runs cold because she knows she shut that window. The air conditioning was on.
That single detail, the fact she even noticed it, is just sheer luck. That's the moment the whole situation changes.
It's instant panic. She just bolts out of the house, hides behind a bush across the street, and calls the emergency number. The police, they got there incredibly fast. And the most shocking part of this whole thing, she watches as they walk a man out of her house in handcuffs.
It was him.
It was him. The man from the restaurant, he was inside her house waiting for her. Now, let's move to our second story. This one. It shows the vulnerability of being a service worker, especially late at night. This involves a student who took a part-time job as a waitress to make some money over the holidays. She said the place was small, dimly lit, and had a terrible smell, but, she really needed the cash. It's around 10 p.m., and she's just waiting for the last table to leave. It's four men. She described them as rough-looking. One of them comes up to the register to pay the bill. It was like $42.50, and he leans in and says, "You doing anything tonight, cutie?"
The kind of crude advance that, unfortunately, is all too common in that line of work.
Right. She gives the standard polite shutdown, "Thank you, have a good night," and just wants to get home. Her place is only a couple of blocks away. So she starts walking. She's not even 5 minutes into her walk when she hears this loud whistle. She looks across the street, and there he is, the same man from the restaurant. He's grinning at her and signaling to her.
Her instinct must have just screamed.
It did. She just started running. But as she's running, she can hear these loud, heavy footsteps right behind her, closing in fast. And then she feels it. A hand grabs her shoulder hard and yanks her backward.
The transition from verbal harassment to physical assault is so fast.
She said his grin was gone. His face was just furious. And he puts his finger to his lips and he whispers, "Don't scream or I'll cut you."
An explicit threat of extreme violence.
But something inside her just snapped. It wasn't fear. She said it was pure rage. She reacted instantly. She grabbed his face with both her hands and just dug her nails as deep as she could into his eyes.
A desperate but incredibly effective self-defense measure, aiming for a vulnerable spot to incapacitate him.
He screamed, a horrible, pained scream, and doubled over. That gave her the second she needed. She just sprinted the rest of the way home, collapsed through her front door, and just started crying. She quit that job the very next day. And she says she still has nightmares, thinking about what would have happened if she hadn't fought back like that. Okay, for our last story, we're looking at something a little different. It's less about a single violent confrontation and more about that slow, creeping terror of psychological stalking. This is the story of a 19-year-old working overnight shifts at a 24-hour diner, and a man she calls Trevor. He was older, larger, and she described him as unattractive. He came in one night around 1 a.m. He was immediately very flirtatious, staring at her the whole time. When he left, he only tipped $5, but on the bill, he left his phone number. And a winking face.
It's a classic boundary test. The low tip shows disrespect for her work, but the number shows an entitlement to her personal time.
Absolutely. He came back a few nights later, and this time he started calling her his favorite server. He kept pushing, even showed her a picture of his tiny boat, asking her to go out with him. She politely refused, used the classic excuse, "Oh, I can't give my number to customers."
Standard safe rejection.
Right. And he seemed to accept it, but then he left a note that said, "I bet you were just shy last time. Don't be shy this time."
So he's not taking no for an answer. He's reframing her rejection as shyness.
And this is where the surveillance really ramps up. He starts coming in only when the diner is totally empty, like at 2 a.m. He was waiting for her to be alone. She kept refusing him, and his demeanor changed. One night, he came back with this really serious face and said, "You don't call her right."
The tone shifts from hopeful to aggrieved. He feels he's owed something now.
But the worst part, the ultimate breach, came from a coworker. The coworker gave Trevor her full name because he lied and said he just wanted to know the name of the really amazing waitress.
And that's such a critical point. That one piece of information, a full name, is the key that unlocks everything else for a stalker.
It was, because soon after, she gets a text message. It was him, and he was gloating. He texted, "I know you said you can't give your number out, so I took it upon myself to get it myself. Now you didn't break any rules, haha."
Chilling. Just absolutely chilling.
She blocked his number immediately. But a few days later, after her shift, she walked out to her car, and there was an envelope tucked under her windshield wiper. Inside were photos. First, there were pictures of her working inside the diner taken from a distance. Then it escalated. Pictures of her apartment building, then a picture of her standing on her own front deck.
He knows where she lives.
And the last photo was the most terrifying. It was taken through her front window at night. He had been right outside her home looking in.
That's the ultimate violation. The move from a public space to a private sanctuary. He's showing her she isn't safe anywhere.
She drove straight to the police station with the envelope. A detective called Trevor right then and there and warned him that any more contact would lead to an arrest for harassment. She quit the diner that day. And her lease was ending, so the next month she moved to a brand new apartment, just to make sure he could never, ever find her again. So when you look at these three stories together, you see how important it is to trust that initial feeling, that gut instinct.
Absolutely. In every single case, that first moment of unease, that feeling that something is just wrong, it was a direct precursor to real, imminent danger. You should never, ever discount that feeling.
These accounts show the terrifying reality of survival and how vulnerable we can be in places we think are safe. We want to thank you for listening to these chilling narratives with us tonight. And if these true stories have sent a shiver down your spine, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs, for more true crime and suspenseful narratives. We bid you good night.